Africa folktale tells us there is a river that flows between Zimbabwe and Zambia. And this river at one place drops for thousands of feet, making a waterfall higher than our own Niagara. The first outsider, Livingstone, to see this mighty waterfall, named it after his queen. And on the maps, you will see Victoria Falls. But those who've lived there for thousands of years call these mighty waterfalls Moisi Uyatunya, the smoke that thunders, for so loud are they, you can hear them for miles. And always there is mist around the tops of these waterfalls. As happens too often among families or tribes, there were sometimes wars among those living along this river. The leader of one family or tribe was named Zaiwasi, and in his family, courage was held sacred. You were never to run from a battle. If you did, your fate was to be thrown into Moisi Uyatunya, the smoke that thunders. And where the water hit the rocks below, it made a boiling, leaping pot. And anyone who fell there, even the body was never seen again. And on this night, many, many, many years ago, they were gathered to watch the death of one who had run from the battle. Zaiwasi, big, black, powerful, was on a rock. He stood there, and he thundered, "Bring Konkela forward true. He is my sister's child, and more dear to me than my own would have been. But if he ran like a coward, he must die as cowards die." Konkela sat. His arms were tied behind him. Another soldier whispered to him, "Courage, Konkela. I am not afraid to die," Konkela said. Walked with head held high, but stood, as a younger man should, beneath his uncle. The uncle asked him, "Tell me again, Konkela, what happened in that battle?" "Uncle, I've told you again and again. There is nothing new to tell." "Perhaps I missed something, Konkela. It brings me no joy to see you die, for you would have been chief in my stead." "Well, Uncle, I was honored to be in charge of all of our troops to fight your old enemy, Sageri. We had planned the battle well. I and some of the troops climbed the wall to his village. The other half of the troops stayed out in the bush. And as we climbed those walls, we found out, Uncle, his spies had outwitted us and somehow knew we were coming. And they had gone, and every house was empty. There we were, the burning houses behind us, the enemy facing us. We found later our own men in the bush had all been killed. As we climbed that wall to escape those flames, we were targets for their spears. Many of us died as we fell from that wall, but some of us did get over that wall. We regrouped, and Uncle, we fought. By the gods of our fathers, we fought. I saw my mother's own sons fall dead beside me in battle. Uncle, I am sick of war, and I look forward to dying. But I do tell you with pleasure, your old enemy Sageri is dead. With my own spear I pierced him through. And then, Uncle, it happened. My strong right arm felt weary no more. I looked as the blood ran down my arm over my hand and drenched the ground. An enemy had cut my arm nearly off. I could do no more. And so Zaiwasi asked him in agony, "And so you ran? Man, you should have stayed there and died like a hero, not run like a coward. Look at me, Konkela. Look at my ugly face. Once I was handsome as you are today, but a leopard and I were after the same prey. I did not know it. When I got to the prey, the leopard leaped on my back, took his claw, tore out my right eye, and tore this side of my face to shreds. But I did get my hands about his throat, and I throttled him. Would to God I had died that day, and not see this bitter time come when you, my sister's own child, must die like a coward." And then there was another sound heard, the voice of a woman wailing for her dead. "Ah, Zaiwasi, ah, Zaiwasi." The ranks of soldiers parted. A woman, small, beautiful, stood there, Konkela's wife. She ran and knelt before the uncle. Mercy, uncle. Have mercy. Only 11 months have I been Conchela's wife, and now, as have all mothers before me, I carry our child under my heart. Will you leave me without a husband, our unborn child, without a father? Mercy, uncle, have mercy. And the tears ran down her cheeks. Zaiwasi hid his face with his hands because his eyes too were wet. Woman, do not ask me to spare his life. I am a just man. I've said that all who run from the battle must die. But this I can promise you. When your child is born, be it man-child, be it woman-child, your child will be the next chief in this family. This is all that I can in honor do. Then she said, Uncle, perhaps you will take a little present I brought you. It might help to change your mind. And she carried a basket, beautifully woven, tightly covered. They could not stop her. She moved so fast. She leaped to the rock beside him, uncovered the basket, thrust it down over his head, leaped from the rock, and ran to the waterfall calling, Conchela, Conchela, better that I should die than you. And she ran to that waterfall, bent her knees and leaped into Moisi Uyatunya, the smoke that thunders, never to be seen again. The soldiers turned. Zaiwasi snatched the basket from his head, and they recoiled in horror as they saw the present she had in that basket for him. It was a cold, deadly snake. It wrapped his head around like a turban. He felt it bite him again and again and again. But Zaiwasi was a strong man. He grabbed the snake by the tail, pulled it from his head, and still holding it by the tail, he beat it to death on the rocks. Then he sat down. Zaiwasi has only a few moments left to live. The poison is very strong. All my life I have lived with violence and war. It took the death of this brave woman to show me there is courage that goes beyond the battlefield, beyond the hunting ground. My loyal soldiers, before I die, swear to me that Conchela will be your next chief. And there, amidst the burning of the torches, thousands of voices rang out, long live Conchela, long live Conchela. Now, all this happened hundreds of years ago. But if today you go to Mother Africa, you can see for yourself Moisi Uyatunya, the smoke that thunders. A cow-tailed switch. It is a mark of great authority carried by chiefs and those in authority. And there's a story told about a chief who owned a beautiful cow-tailed switch. And he went hunting, but did not return. His wife expected a baby. And in due time, the baby was born, a boy. They loved him. He ate, slept, and grew. And one day, the baby talked. The baby's first words were, "Where is my father?" Now, his 5 older brothers had never gone to look for their father. When they heard the baby, they said, "Ah, yes, where is our father?" Then they went looking, and in the tall grasses, they found their father's bones. They were his, they knew, because a rusty spear was nearby with the chief's insignia on it. Now, these 5 brothers had marvelous powers. Here we call it ESP, or being psychic. They call it juju there. And the first brother said, "These bones are all separate. I have power to put all of these bones together again." It was done. And on the ground lay a perfect skeleton. The second brother said, I have power to give our father flesh. It was done. You could no longer see the bones. The third brother said, I have power to give blood to our father. And soon there was blood flowing throughout the body. The fourth brother said, I have power to cover our father's body with skin, hair, give him his teeth and vital organs. The man looked alive but was still immobile. The fifth son said, I have power to give breath to our father. They loved their father. This son put his mouth to his father's mouth and he breathed. He breathed. And the father began to breathe, and his eyes opened. He was alive. They were so excited. They hugged their father. They put him on their shoulders. They carried him home. He embraced the baby. His wife hugged him. Oh, they were so happy in that home that night. And because he was the chief, the next day, there was a great feast and dancing. When the dancing and the feasting were over, the chief said, now everybody sit down. I shall give this to the son who did most to bring me back from the dead. The first son said, give it to me, father. I started the whole process. I put your bones together. The next son said, give it to me, father. Did not I give you flesh? The third son said, I think I should get it, because as everyone knows, blood is life, and I gave you blood, father. The fourth son said, but I think it belongs to me, because without me to give you your skin and your teeth and your vital organs, you would not be alive today. The fifth son said, none of you get it. Of course I get it. Give it to me, father. Did not I give you breath? The chief shook his head sadly and said, my 5 sons, I thank all of you, but none of you get this because you had forgotten all about me. It goes to, who do you think?
Baby.
The baby. The baby's first words were what? Where is my father? And until a man, woman, or child is forgotten, he or she is not truly dead. There was a man. He wasn't scared of nothing. This man knew lots of African science. I don't call it magic because it works. This man knew words to make the old bones get out of their graves and shake, rattle, and roll till he put them to sleep again, you know. He was out one night and he said these magic words and the old bones got up and they danced around for him, you know, then he put them to sleep again with these magic words. He was going home about 2 o'clock in the morning. The moon was shining bright as day. He was going along the road, you know, walking along, kicking along in the sand side of the road. And something round and white rolled out. It was an old skull. It was grinning. Skulls always grin. They got no flesh, the skin. He didn't care. He said, get out of my way, skull. He kicked the skull. The skull kept smiling and rolled over and told him, my big mouth got me where I am, and your big mouth will do the same for you. Skull, you talk, what'd you say? The skull smiled and told him, my big mouth got me where I am, and your big mouth will do the same for you. How dare you talk to me like that? The skull said, my big mouth. Oh, shut up, he said. Went home. Hey, everybody, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up for what? Up the road's a skull. A skull, so? But this skull is talking. What'd you say, man? I said there's a talking skull up the road. They said, you must be drunk. You know, hits at the window. You must be drunk, man. Skulls don't talk. This skull can talk. Wake up, everybody. Wake up, wake up. Come on, see the talking skull. I am telling you the truth. If I'm not, you can cut my head off. Come on and see the talking skull. Wouldn't let nobody sleep. Well, they got up, put on their clothes, went up the road behind him, and there in the road was a skull. He said, I told you so. Okay, skull, talk, talk. The skull rolled over and smiled and didn't talk. You can talk. Open your big mouth. The skull just smiled and didn't say a word. Then he changed his tone. He began talking a while. He changed that tone. Nice, Mr. Skull. Sweet Mr. Skull. A few words, please, Mr. Skull. Not a word, just all that smiling. Then he got on his knees then. Please, Mr. Skull, just one word, Mr. Skull. One small word, Mr. Skull. Not a word. And remembering his promise, somebody with a sharp knife walked up behind him and cut his head plumb off. They went home, went to bed. When they were all gone, the skull told his head, I told you so. My big mouth got me where I am, and your big mouth has done the same for you. Zoom, golly, 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 zoom, golly, golly, zoom. Keep singing. Zoom, golly. Hekolutz lemon avodah, avodah lemon hekolutz, hekolutz lemon avodah, avodah lemon hekolutz. Pioneers must work every day, from dawn till setting sun. Pioneers must work every day until their work is done. Zoom, golly, 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 zoom, golly, golly, zoom, golly, 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 zoom, golly, golly, zoom. A very special baby was born. That night, the moon didn't shine, and the river ran up the hill. The crickets would not chirp, and that night, John Henry was born. He was born with a hammer in his hand. He was a great, big, strong baby. His mama put him in a crib, and he shook the crib and said, give me some cornbread and collard greens. Oh, he was a strong baby. When he was 6 years old, he was as tall as his daddy. When he was about 12, he went out to seek his own fortune and took his trusty hammer over his shoulder. He had all kinds of jobs. He worked as a stevedore, worked on a ship, you know, on the rivers, and then he found they were building a railroad across our country. He had a friend, a very good friend, his best friend, whose name was Bill. And they worked on this railroad in West Virginia. And Bill would hold the spike, and John Henry would hammer. They were a steel-driving team, oh, the fastest in the whole country, in the whole world, they said. And they came to a mountain, had to blast a tunnel through this mountain and put these two railroad tracks through this mountain. And John Henry said, we are going to drive some steel. But one morning he came to work, and there was a machine there. The boss man brought in a machine. He said, hey, boss man, what's that contraption over there? The boss man told him, said, John Henry, that is a steel driving machine. It can drive steel faster than you can. Oh, no. Nothing can drive steel faster than I can. Now, when you blast a tunnel, a hole, you have to put drive, you know, a spike in there and put the dynamite in there, let it blow up and bring out all the rock, you know. And the boss man said, I'll tell you what, John Henry, we will have a contest. We'll put you on one of these rails and the machine on the other. Whoever can get through first, through the mountain, will win. So the machine was going clackety, 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 just tearing out that steel, just driving steel. And John Henry was hammering, he was hammering, he was hammering. The machine was ahead of him. John Henry said, this 20-pound hammer is too light. Give me a 50-pound hammer. He was hammering. The hammer was red hot. He was hammering. So he said, give me some water on me. They poured water on John Henry, and the steam rose. He was so hot. And the machine was going clackety, 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 clackety. The machine was ahead of John Henry. The machine went clackety, clackety, clack. It stopped. The boss man was trying to fix the machine, and John Henry kept hammering, and a hammering, and a hammering, and a hammering, until he broke through the mountain. He had won. And John Henry stepped out into the light of the evening sun with his hammer in his hand. But he had worked so hard, he had a heart attack. He died with his hammer in his hand. And the many stories told about John Henry, and here is one of them. Many songs sung about John Henry. And here is one, when I hit the drum, you may clap your hands. All right. When John Henry was a little baby, a-settin' on his pappy's knee, he picked up a hammer and a little piece of steel and said, this hammer's gonna be the death of me, Lord, Lord. This hammer's gonna be the death of me. The captain said to John Henry, gonna bring a steam drill down. Gonna take that steam drill out on the job. I'm gonna beat that steel on down, Lord, Lord. Beat that steel on down. John Henry hammered on the mountain till his hammer was a striking fire. He hammered so hard that he broke his poor heart, and he died with his hammer in his hand, Lord, Lord. He died with his hammer in his hand. Some said he came from Louisiana, some said he come from Alabama, but I know he came from West Virginia, and I know he was a steel driving man, Lord, Lord. I know he was a steel driving man. Just suppose that you went to the store to get a can of corn. How would you know or think you knew that you were getting a can of corn from the shelf? How would you know? Yes, young man?
Because it had a label.
All right. But just suppose you picked a can that had a label that said corn. But when they were canning, somebody really goofed, and they had taken a can of tomatoes and labeled it corn, and you thought you had corn. When you were home and opened that can, you'd find what inside that can? What, young people?
Tomato.
So you see, it is not the label that counts, but what is where? Yes? What is inside? We give people labels and they're color words. What color do we call Indians or Native Americans? We call them what color?
Red.
We call Asians what color? Yes?
Brown.
No?
Yellow.
Yellow. You're called, most of you are called what color?
White.
I'm what color?
Black.
You're smart. Ever seen anybody the color of a yellow lemon? A red apple?
No.
The color of snow outside? That's why I have a poem that says this. All right? It says this, it says, color words don't bother me, 'cause what I hear I do not see. Chinese are not yellow, and Indian is not red. If you think a white child looks like snow, then something's wrong with your head. And I am not black like leather. That's a word that stands for me. People come in all colors, so color words don't bother me.